Welcome to the Diva Life Show, where music meets fashion, culture meets travel, and we explore the stories of extraordinary artists and entrepreneurs. I'm your host and resident diva, Heather Poduska. Today on the show, we welcome fashion designer, entrepreneur, and the creator of Lullaby Designs, Melina Cortes-Nmili. Melina Cortes-Nmili is the 2023 winner of the highly sought-after title of Best Clothing Designer from Boston Magazine. She was also selected as featured designer for the prestigious Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum Velvet Party 2024. Melina's path to becoming a successful fashion designer and creating her own label, Lullaby, is a vivid tapestry of ambition, resilience, and visionary purpose. Born and raised in the Dominican Republic, Melina's beginnings were humble. However, her dreams were anything but. From a young age, she harbored a deep-seated desire to make a mark on the world, initially imagining a future where she would empower women through entrepreneurship. In addition to her design career, Melina is a respected sales and marketing executive in the healthcare industry. In 2023, she received an influential Hispanic Woman Award, honoring Latina women making a difference in business. Melina is a valued mentor and an active force within several Boston organizations that promote the development of women and young professionals. Today, Melina's company, Lullaby, is not just a fashion brand. It's a reflection of Melina's journey from the vibrant landscapes of the Dominican Republic to the bustling energy of the United States. And through Lullaby, Melina continues to connect with women across the globe, offering them a slice of her dream, one that champions uniqueness, quality, and the timeless elegance of a well-crafted fashion. Melina, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so lucky to have you here. We've met before. We have history together.
Yes.
You've been on a show of mine before, and so much has happened since then and in the past, since COVID and all of these different things. Your resume was a mouthful to get out there. Entrepreneurship, fashion design, mentor, award winner. And the thing that I didn't put on there was that you have small children. I asked this question of some of my other guests, how do you balance all of this all?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. We've known each other for years now, and it's always a pleasure to get together and collaborate on anything with you. So thank you.
Absolutely.
How do I do it? I get asked this a lot. I don't do everything. I don't do it all. I have an amazing support system. I'm also married, and so my husband, it's just quite frankly a very quiet, incredible force behind all of this, where if I need to be somewhere, then he's picking up the kids, and vice versa, because our kids now are 10 and 7, so they have a lot of activities, and I never want to come between, of course, their growth and them doing that. My mother, my sisters live here. I have amazing friends, so frankly, it's a little village behind me.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I mean, they say no one succeeds alone. You need a community, you need supports, and I met you through someone who was on the show earlier, and I met someone else that I interviewed on the show through you. So it's this interwoven, connection between us, and that we support each other. I think that's really fabulous.
Absolutely.
So where did initially this desire to get into fashion and your love of fashion come from? I know that you came from the Dominican Republic, and was your family into sewing or fashion or clothes, or where'd that come from?
Absolutely. So my grandmother, she raised me, right? My mother had me when she was 20. She was a brilliant young woman, but she didn't have the means to raise me and go to college. So then my grandmother took me in when I was months old, and my grandmother was a self-taught seamstress. She did not do it as a business. She taught herself, and then she would do it for the family. So she was the one who made our uniforms for school, our Sunday dresses, our Christmas dresses. And I just remember seeing her sitting at her sewing machine, the ones that you had to like push back and forth.
Was it a Singer?
Yes.
Yes.
And so, which by the way, it's still in the Dominican Republic, that 40 some years ago. But it was just it's not something you think about because it's kind of a part of who you are from a very young age. So back then I didn't really know this is what I want to do. I know that I enjoyed dressing up. I come from very humble beginnings. We didn't have a lot. So, I didn't have a closet full of dresses. So from a very young age, we were taught to get creative with what we did have. So that passion for me with, just I wanted to wear makeup from a very young age. I wanted to look good. I wanted, so that it has always been there. I always knew that from since as early as I can remember, I always knew that I wanted to do something, which is funny because as a child, you cannot even put that into words. I knew that I would always ask my mom, when you're done with your makeup, can you give it to me? Because I want to set up a salon so I can make up my friends. So I guess that was my way of telling the world, I want to do something. I want to be in charge of something. I want to, I want to make a difference. And so that's where it all began.
I love that. And when you were saying about your grandmother and the sewing machine, I was like, my grandmother had a singer sewing machine, but I didn't become a fashion designer. I became a singer. So
there you go.
And I think that, when we were growing up, we didn't have phones. We didn't have the internet. And I used to do all kinds of shows. Like you asked to be a salon, to have a salon for your friends. I used to do shows. I would take my grandfather's cane and do like singing and dancing shows with his cane. And I think that, it really does influence us later in life. So I love that you brought that through, and I think that it shows your entrepreneurial spirit at a young age. And one of the things that really strikes me about you, Melina, is how you champion women. And little girls have that entrepreneurial spirit too. I remember having that feeling of I remember very distinctly singing, playing and singing and thinking, oh, I hope I can, I want to be a singer. I hope I get discovered, really young. And I think that sometimes it doesn't get fostered, that sure you want that, but that ambition. So how do you think that you were able to bring that forward? Were you supported in that as a child in terms of that drive?
It's interesting, Heather, because I come from a place in a time, I'm 43 years old, so it wasn't that long ago, but at the same time, times have changed. So I come from a time where children were treated as children. And coming from where I come from, my path was very much designed for me from a very early age. You are going to go to college and you are going to do well, and you are going to be a self-sufficient woman. And that came from us not having a lot of male blueprints, unfortunately, in our lives. My parents were divorced. My dad was a presence, but not like my mom. So I learned, it was engraved in me from a very young age, I need to make something out of myself. My way out of whatever situation is education. And so for a long time, the dreams of entrepreneurship were kind of put on the back burner. I did go to cosmetology school when I went to high school. I did my 1,000 hours because I thought, okay, one day I'm gonna have a beauty business. And so I thought that was it. But then I graduated high school, I went on to college, and again, that kind of fell on the back burner. And it wasn't until I was already a married woman, I had saved up a little bit of money that I said to myself, okay, now is my time to, I need something I'm not finding. By now I was sort of on my way to becoming an executive. I was looking for a certain type of look. I've always had a very defined look in my head of what I want to feel like when I dress. And I said, this is my time to have fun with it. I never imagined, to be completely honest with you, in a million years that I would be in boutiques. I started it as a hobby almost. And that's how it all started.
And that hobby, I go back to this. I was talking to a conductor that I interviewed about this golden thread. This thread, it's just a thread through life that pulls you forward. Sometimes you don't know where it's taking you, but you follow that thread. And I'm sorry for the pun on the thread and the fashion and the clothes, but literally you just followed that thread. You didn't know where it was going to take you, but you didn't dabble and then quit. You've kept going and building and building and building. And now look at La La Bee. So tell us a little bit more about La La Bee and how that has evolved and where it is now, this award-winning label and fashion designer. I can't believe I'm sitting next to you.
Well, first of all, I have a tattoo of a thread, just so you know. And not because I'm a seamstress or anything, because I do believe that we are somehow connected to our destiny through this thread. So it's right here, it's red, and it's a little thread with a heart. But I digress. So
no, that's so relevant. It's so relevant.
La La Bee, a lot has happened since the last time I saw you. You know, when I came here, I think it was pre-COVID.
Yes.
I was working in corporate. I was kind of transitioning through, you know, jobs. I was going sort of through an interesting time there. And my dresses were being sold in boutiques across the States. And then COVID happened. And that was kind of a shock for me, like everybody else, because it completely changed my business model. I did not know, you know, stores were canceling orders. I went through a few months of what am I going to do? And I was not in the headspace to create anything either. And I thought it was just me until I started speaking to other designers, and they were like, we haven't done anything either. Like everybody was kind of just waiting to see what's going to happen. Yeah. And I remember I had reached out to you, because I was going through a rebranding process. I thought, okay, this is happening for a reason. I need to take a look at what I'm doing. Do I need to change anything? Is La La Bee it? Is there something else? Because COVID happened, you know, I started as a special occasion designer. For weddings, guest of the wedding, mother of the bride. Well, nobody's getting married, at least not in public. And so what do I do? And so that's when I reached out to you. And, you know, I asked you, Heather, can I rebrand? Am I going to confuse people? How do I do this? And you were like, you can absolutely rebrand. So La La Bee, I have pulled back from being in stores. When I first started, and I think it's important for up-and-coming fashion designers to know this, we have to decide, how do we measure success? Me, when I was younger and inexperienced, I measured success not by the amount of money that I was making, but by how many stores am I in. And for branding, that was amazing. So for me to be in boutiques in Canada and some of the biggest boutiques in the Southeast and Texas, that was amazing. But then I still felt a void, and I felt, you know, it came down to I was not really connecting, in my opinion, with my woman. And I felt like I have so much to say. I have so much to learn. I want to speak to this woman directly. I want to make that connection. And so that is how I kind of removed myself a little bit from the wholesaling, and I do mostly custom work now. I do one-on-one consultations. I absolutely love it. Number one, it's less time consuming, and it's just a different experience. And so I'm much more about selling the experience and the story than I am about, I don't know, kind of selling, you know, being here, being everywhere.
I love that. And I think that you said the word story, and that's so important. When you buy, you know, when you buy a piece of art, I have a photograph, a framed photograph in my house of a bird, and the person who took that picture is a guy I did a short film with like 25 years ago. He was the dad and I was the mom. We did this short film, but the story is like he took that picture, we were in the film, and I look at it on my wall and I'm like, oh, that's the story. And I love that you brought that, you know, that there's a story when you're wearing art and there's a story behind it, and you meet the designer and she has your story in mind and her story in mind to come together. I just think that's amazing. It gives so much more meaning to the things that you're wearing, don't you think?
To me, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. And I'm still going through a process. You know, it never stops, at least not for me. We just relaunched the website. We just, for a long time, you know, the name of my brand is La La Bee, but a lot of people don't refer to me as La La Bee. They refer to me as Melina. And so for a long time, I struggled with how do I marry these two names together? How do I do that? And so I'm still in the process of playing with things. Does this work? Does this not work? And if it doesn't work, okay, then we'll change it. So that's kind of where I am today.
Oh, well, I think having a Melina Cortes-Nmili dress is like very like if I'm getting a custom, design, I want that. That's what I want. I want the design. That's my 2 cents.
So I've landed on, and the person that I worked with did an amazing job. I landed on La La Bee by Melina Cortes.
Oh, there you go.
I felt horribly because I had to drop my married name because that's the mouthful. But so we stuck it somewhere else on the website so that at least my husband gets his due credit. But that is where I landed on, and because the name to me means something.
Yeah.
My name, again, people are more, I guess maybe it's easier to remember. You know, my friends, the people, my network, they don't call me La La Bee. They call me Melina.
Exactly.
I want a dress designed by you, Melina.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So who is your woman? And I was going to ask you that. Who is the woman that you want to connect with? I mean, I know that. Well, I'll let you answer. Who is the woman that is your woman for these designs and these creations?
So the woman is a woman that shares similar values to mine. And what are my values? My values is, authenticity. My value is strength, not letting your past failures or situations define you. And so that on a deeper level, that is the woman. I want to dress a woman that believes those things are important. Aside from that, from a less, I guess, deep level, it's about a woman who's busy, who the dresses are not $20 or $50. So it's a woman who can afford to, knows what she wants, wants to feel comfortable, and it's a woman that number one can afford it. I think we have to be comfortable saying that can afford it.
Of course.
And then number two, a woman that kind of, the dress is, for me, it's never meant to define who you are. A dress at the end of the day is just a dress. I want it to complement who you already are.
Yeah.
So, and that is not always easy because, sometimes we are not comfortable within ourselves for whatever reason. So the woman, that is the contribution that I'm trying to make to that woman. Okay, you are already powerful. You are already successful. You are already beautiful. Here's a dress to complement all of that, to complement your story. And that's the woman that I want to dress.
I love that. And you also said the word authenticity. And as I was reading your bio, we were talking about coming from the vibrant, Dominican Republic and the bustling. It's kind of like, I picture all these bright colors for the Dominican, and I picture, I don't know, when you said the bustling United States, I just pictured, Wall Street and walking down, like the bustling. So how does that come through in your designs? How does that marriage of those two things come through in your designs?
It's an interesting combination.
Yeah.
I come from the Caribbean. I'm very
I love
colorful.
Your colors. Yes.
I can be very daring. And even when I sold to boutiques, I would create pieces that I knew were not going to sell. But I would create them because I thought they brought the two worlds together. They helped me put a period on that story. So, the showrooms that I would work with would say, well, this will never sell. It's okay. I need it in my portfolio.
Yeah.
And some stores would say, "Oh my God, this is beautiful," but my ladies are never gonna buy it.
Yeah.
So combining that with the structure of the Boston women, we love our blacks and grays, and I love black.
I put my red on. I tried to get the red in there.
But interestingly enough, I'm designing or finishing up the velvet collection that I showed at the museum, and most of it is black. So I think that for me, it's just finding ways to marry the two because I moved here when I was 12. So I am a Bostonian, but I go back home, 2 and 3 times a year. And so very much, I am also a Dominican woman. So it's okay to have different parts to yourself. Sometimes my collections are like way out there with color. Sometimes, as you will see with velvet, they're gonna be more on the darker side. And that's okay. I design based on how I'm feeling at that moment. And I always make sure that I can represent both.
Oh, I saw the pictures. Hopefully they'll be in we can put them in the show too, but I saw pictures of the velvet collection and they were so beautiful.
Thank you.
But it wasn't just black. It was black with like this vibrant blue flower here and something red here. It was so spectacular.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly how I define myself.
Yeah.
I can be a black dress, but sooner or later, a pop of color is gonna come out of somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, I totally love that, and I want to address that a little bit more too, because I follow somebody online, and she does a lot of the history of fashion and why fashion is a certain way. And she was talking about people who have a lot of money, like multi-billionaires, and they wear jeans and T-shirts, like Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, they're also men, but but why is it that we go through these periods of fashion where it's very ornate and then it gets very simple? And right now, when you go to the stores, if you look at sort of like the big box stores like Banana Republic or Gap, or they're very simple. It's very like sort of minimal. The colors aren't. I mean, once in a while you get like a season where it's brighter. And her philosophy was that it's because of money that, like kind of what you said, not everybody is going to buy that one piece that you love as a designer. So they can't mass produce it because not everybody is going to buy that. So as a consumer, sometimes I'm like, where is the fun in this? Like, where is the unique design that it's going to really speak to me? And so I think that's why it's so important to have this custom design boutique experience, because you just can't find those things in those kinds of stores, not usually.
And I think we need to get honest with a lot of things. I think fashion allows us, anything creative, anything having to do with inspiration, with creating art, allows you to dream. It allows you to go, the sky is the limit. Yeah. So I could design $1 million dress, but the reality is that not everybody, who can afford $1 million dress? So I think we need to get honest about that. Yeah. I have to be honest about who is my target audience. Yeah. I also believe that even within that target audience, there's been a lot of talk about fast fashion, slow fashion. Yeah. I understand that most people want to help the environment. I understand that most people want to invest in slow fashion, but we have to know that creating slow fashion, it's not cheap. Right. Because you're not creating 1 million of the same dress or shirt. You're not creating 1,000. You're not even creating 100. If you're creating a custom piece, you're creating a custom piece. That fabric comes from Italy. Somebody else is not going to have it. Yeah. 99% of my fabrics come from Italy. So just there's some education that also needs to happen. I think that there are ways to marry the two a little bit. Yeah. One of the things we discussed when I reached out to you was, well, there's a special occasion, Lala B, but I want to be in everyone's, not in everyone's closet, but I want to offer a sustainable product that is priced, it's more attainable, right? Yeah. And that's how Lala B Everyday was created. And as the name implies, with Lala B Everyday, we're talking shirts like this. Yeah. It is still a European fabric. It is still being made here in Cambridge. But these are more everyday pieces. I don't expect that, to come to the show or to go grocery shopping, you're going to wear a velvet dress with flowers coming out of everywhere. So as designers, as creatives, what can we do to help move the needle a little bit, to offer a product that is still sustainable, that is responsibly made? Is there something we can do to kind of help bridge that gap a little bit?
Is this one of your designs?
Yes.
I love it. I love color. You wouldn't know it because I'm wearing black and gray now, but I love color, and it makes me think about style. So you have the fashion, you have the design, but then I think that's where style and creativity can help slow fashion, because if you get something special, you want to wear it as much as possible, but it's special and it's unique, so then it's more noticeable because it's different than your jeans and a t-shirt. So how do you then take that thing that is attention grabbing, that's different, that's unique, and repurpose it and reuse it in lots of different ways? And I think that's where the style comes into it.
And sustainability and timeless, right? Yeah. A lot of the pieces that I love doing this, a lot of the pieces that I wear today, if I'm in a panel or an interview or what have you, are pieces that if you look through my website or my Instagram, I have very much worn before in different ways. So this shirt, I've worn it with jeans. I have put tight and I've worn it as a dress. And I've worn it over a dress and I've worn it. And I like to combine my pieces with other designers. I like to bring things together. I think that's where just having that open-mindedness, that's where it's important. It comes into play.
Yeah, and I heard someone, a stylist, and she was saying, to play with your style, take something that beautiful blouse that you have on, and pair it with something you would never, never pair it with, like a pair of sweatpants. And then how can you raise this beautiful design shirt and the sweatpants? How can you marry them in a unique way and bringing different pieces? And I was like, oh, that's a challenge I think I'm going to take on. Like, how would I do that? Like, would you wear, and she put cowboy boots with something, and I was like, that's so cool. And I think people get afraid of playing, and it's kind of like what you were saying about pivoting with your brand. If it doesn't work, pivot again.
Yeah.
Change the outfit.
Just got to be nimble. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised what you come up with.
Yeah, and it's fun, like, well, okay, this didn't work, this worked, whatever. But I just love the vibrant colors. You can see, the Caribbean coming through, and I know that you have, you've won these awards for reaching back to Hispanic women. So I have a two-part question. What do you think it is that entrepreneurial women need to know if they're thinking about building their business, if they're in it, if they're like, oh my God, how do I navigate this? How do I marry it with another career? Like, what do they need to know? And then what specifically do you think Hispanic women need to know that might be different from everybody else? Because I don't know the answer to that.
So the number one is that, if you start making money a year in, I applaud you. That was certainly not my case. So if you start a business, surround yourself, because we see a lot of things on Instagram and social media and everywhere. Surround yourself with spaces, people that will give you honest feedback and based on their experience around anything having to do with the business. Because I had an enormous amount of failures. I had showrooms drop me because things were not selling. My first 2 collections, didn't sell a thing. And so it's easy to say, okay, I tried it, it didn't work, Really, and even if that's the case, if you're over it after a year, 2 years, of course, I applaud you. We all are free to make those choices. But just prepare yourself, because it's not an easy road. It hasn't been an easy road for me. I have had a lot of moments of success, but I've also had a lot of failures. I've had a lot of laughters and trips and fashion shows, but I've also had to struggle with which bill am I going to pay for first. And so it's a lot. It's not for the faint of heart. It can be very emotionally draining if you don't have the support system behind you, cheering on you. And so, and in this world, it's easy to not every smile means the same.
Yeah.
And so just having that support system, I think I was fortunate enough where I had a business foundation, and that helped me because I knew how to put together a balance. Those things, making clothes is nice, but you need to also know how to read numbers, for your taxes, if you're looking for funding and you need to put a business plan in place. So if you can, either invest in the mentorship. Some people mentor for free. I've had plenty of mentors that have given me their time simply because they want me to be successful without charging me a dime. Ask for help, because that is I would say as important as creating beautiful things. Yeah. And so that's that part. And then the other part is something that is extremely close and near to my heart. I have found, and this is based on Melina's experience, here in Boston, in the States, we're almost like innate champions. We want to buy that story. We want to invest our time in hearing about this story. And if I know your story, then I want you to be successful, and I want to buy what you're selling. Yeah. That has been my experience. Doesn't mean that it's always been easy, but that has been kind of me navigating through Boston. So many women, are creating organizations to champion, to lobby for other women. Yes. So reach out, become a part of organizations, start by volunteering so you can kind of get in the mix and so on and so forth. And for Latina women, a lot of us come from, we come from third world countries. We come from places where you see it in every aspect, politics, creativity, where we have sometimes this mentality of scarcity, of if I am selling dresses, please don't you dare sell a dress because you're going to take food away from my table. Oh. And I'm being completely honest. And so there's so much that, in my opinion, that we have to do I don't know if it's fear. I don't know. I have found that the more I give, the more I get. That is a very out there mentality, but that is my truth. Yeah. And so personally, I am seeing more organizations in Boston that are put together by Latina women who understand this concept, that want to create this safe space for women to, number one, collaborate. Number two, be okay with competition. Competition is good. It keeps us on our toes. It keeps us interesting and thinking ahead. And so I think we are working towards that. We are not anywhere probably where we should be. So my thought and my invitation to Latina women watching this show is, if we don't lobby for each other, who's going to do it for us? As a woman and as women of color, we already have enough that life is throwing at us because life is life and it's the way that it goes. We don't need to also do it to each other.
Yeah, and I feel like there are a lot of different cultures in the Boston, represented in the Boston area too.
Absolutely.
I was watching a comic the other day, and he was talking about how white Boston is, and I was like, well, I think that there's more diversity here than there used to be.
We are very diverse. On Saturday, I was invited to be a panelist at this Latina organization, and they asked me for my input on what should the panel be about. And I said it needs to be about collaboration. And here are the questions it needs to be about how do we train ourselves to collaborate and to come from a place of trust. It's not always going to work. Not everybody has the same intentions, but we have to start. We have to take chances. We have to take a risk. I take risks with people that are not Latinos. Why wouldn't I do it for my community?
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I think that it's really interesting to live in a state where the governor is a woman, and a city where the mayor is a woman, and it's just an interesting time to watch how things unfold, because we haven't had that before. And I think that it's exciting to see that the world isn't falling apart because these women are leading in politics. And I think that having strong women like you and Michelle Wu and our governor, all those things, good things are going to happen. And women step up, I think. I mean, men step up too, but this is an opportunity to show what women can do.
Absolutely, and you see it everywhere, not only in this space, but also in corporate. If you go online and you download any of the reports, they do annual diversity reports, and where you see where men, stand, women, and then women of color, Latina women, African American women. You're absolutely right. We're making progress. It's not as quickly as I would love to see it. And being in corporate myself and having hired women myself who then became my peers, I have been judged about, well, why are you only hiring women? Well, why are you only hiring men? Like, what, so that is, we need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and with being the odd man in the room.
Yeah, I heard a quote, I think was it RBG? Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and she was talking about what would it be like if all of the Supreme Court justices were women? Like, how radical would that be? And she was like, we've had all men for many, many years and no one batted an eye. So I don't know how radical it actually would be. I think having a healthy balance is good, but it's happening, and it can happen even more.
Exactly.
And you are doing it. You are leading by example. You also have an organization for children that you're starting.
Yes. So we just launched the Cortes Foundation. So Cortes is my dad's last name, and he passed away two years ago. And so, thank you. And so I come from a very small town, the countryside in the Dominican Republic, and they have this. You would love this. They have this music academy, and the kids every competition they go to, even when other countries come from Latin America, they win. I mean, these kids are amazing, and when they graduate, they become, they're hired by these international bands, and they play the saxophone and they play everything. And there's a lot of kids, which I love, because then that keeps them away from other things.
Yes.
But they don't have the space. A lot of them, they practice like in people's backyards. The teacher does it almost for free. Sometimes they have needs of instruments and so on and so forth. And so I thought, okay, well, if we could help a little, and I can also raise awareness so others can help, that would be a good thing. So that's what we're hoping to do with this.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. So we'll put a little link somewhere so that people can, if they want to donate. That's so awesome. And I think you are just incredible. I'm so happy that you came back again to update us on where you are. And I think that you are the most beautiful of divas. And I always ask, it's the Diva Life show. So what comes to mind for you when you think of the word diva? What does diva mean to you?
Confidence.
That was quick.
Hey, it's confidence. I mean, if you are walking through life knowing that you're not perfect, knowing that you have flaws, knowing that these are visible flaws, knowing that you have scars. Some of them are visible, some of them are not. But it's just such a short ride.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to wear red, just wear the freaking red. If you want to just look different, then just be different. And so I think if we have that confidence, anything is possible.
Oh my gosh, and you are a living example of that, of anything is possible. You are doing the thing. So thank you so much for being here. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Melina.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for joining us again. And as always, until next time, here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Diva Life. I hope you enjoyed the show. And be sure to join us next time as I interview another amazing artist or entrepreneur. Until then, as always, here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care. Bye-bye.